Welcome, beautiful Paris Saint Germain family. In today's video, I'll be predicting the upcoming first leg quarterfinals Champions League ties. First one to start with is FC Bayern Munchen versus Inter Milan. Bayern Munchen, obviously you cannot talk about this tie without mentioning their injuries. Dayot Upamecano, Alphonso Davies, and obviously recently Jamal Musiala. Upamecano, obviously the ball progressor from that defense, the best duel winner from that defense, pretty much the captain in the defensive line. Alphonso Davies, probably the only outlet that Bayern Munchen have, despite him being a defender. And Jamal Musiala, the man with the trickery up there in attack, even though, especially his big game performances in his entire Bayern career have never been up to par, especially in the UEFA Champions League. These three players are still huge misses for FC Bayern Munchen. I have to be honest, I haven't barely watched anything of Inter Milan this season, but it's been, another Inter Milan season. Obviously, what they do in Serie A this season, I don't think it's as special because of, they're competing against a weak Napoli side, obviously strengthened by the appointment of Antonio Conte in the summer. That's pretty much it. Juve not performing well, AC Milan not performing well. Atalanta, they're great to good top 4 team, but they just couldn't keep the consistency as they had in the beginning of the Serie A season. And in the UCL, obviously, you can see the stat. They've only conceded 1 goal, I think, in 12 games or something, or 10 games. But honestly, this Inter team obviously doesn't look as strong when they reach the final. Maybe even weaker than they were last season, when obviously they went out on penalties. So obviously, before the game, I said it was a 50-50 game before the injuries even happened. But I would have probably edged it to Bayern, now thinking of it. But because of the injuries, obviously, I think Inter Milan have to have the edge in this game. At least a 55-45, maybe even a 60-40. Those are some major injuries. And me as a PSG fan, I'm extremely fortunate that we haven't had any similar kind of injuries or injury problems at Paris Saint Germain this season. But the team I'm picking to go through here, very interesting. Bayern, you could pretty much even call them an underdog at this point. But obviously the first game, which is the game I'm going to predict right here, is at the Allianz Arena. And I'm going with, wow. I think a draw is the most predictable. It smells of a draw this game, especially know how Inter Milan play, especially because it's an away game. But it's, I want to give Bayern some kind of hope, but yeah, I'm going to go boring. I'm going to go a draw between the two teams, 1-1. I could potentially see a Bayern small edge victory to have some kind of advantage into the second leg. But I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw. Boring. Well, that's what I see. Next up, we have Real Madrid versus Arsenal. Obviously, I will be doing a live watch-along of this game on Tuesday and not the Inter Bayern game. Huge game. Huge game for the narratives, huge game for... if you talk about it from Arsenal's point of view, obviously they've had another underwhelming season with Arteta at the helm, making up excuses along the way, as they've done in previous seasons. One is the experience, one is the injuries. But if you're always using an excuse, that means there is a problem with where you are, who you are, what you're doing, which is what Arteta is doing as the coach of Arsenal. But they're obviously into the Champions League quarterfinals here, a huge accomplishment for Arsenal as a football club. They haven't been in this stage, I don't know, since 2014 or something. So, very long time ago, Arsenal were at this stage competing alongside the big boys. But obviously, they're out of the FA Cup, out of the Carabao Cup, have no chance for the Premier League title. This is the only thing they can rely upon. Whilst Real Madrid, they're still in for the Copa del Rey. Obviously into the final versus Barca. They're still in the league, even though they dropped points this weekend. And obviously they're still in the Champions League. So I think there's more desperation from Arsenal's side, which can be both positive and negative. That means they will push everything into this. Obviously, we saw Saka return early from injury, which just shows how serious Arsenal take this game. Because if they potentially beat Real Madrid, as said, this would be a historical season by the standards of Arsenal, reaching a Champions League semi-final and beating out reigning champions Real Madrid. But is that going to happen? I don't know. Real Madrid, we obviously know Real Madrid don't play one of the best football in the world. Very undominant in their games. But the thing what makes Real Madrid so good in the Champions League is two stuff. They're very good at making sure the opponent doesn't take their chances. I don't know how. It's some black magic, some voodoo, but every single time a team faces Madrid, they suddenly become more unclinical than they are. They miss chances they shouldn't miss. They make stupid mistakes they shouldn't make. And then for the offensive stuff, which you can give obviously Madrid prop for and their players, is that they take their chances. They don't get that many chances every single game, but every single chance they get, they usually bury it. And that's what's made Real Madrid so great in Champions League competitions, because it's all about moments. In a league campaign, you have to be consistent for 38 games. In the Champions League, we saw even Madrid were struggling in the group stage, but that doesn't matter because they're into the knockout stages now. They have, obviously, they beat City. They beat them convincingly across both legs. Atletico just, with the tightest of margins go through, but they went through. And now they're going to face Arsenal, an unexperienced side. As I said, they haven't been in the... Obviously, they were in the Champions League last season, but before that, they haven't been in the Champions League since 2017. Game is just way too big for them. And actually, I have the pictures wrong here. I think the first game is going to be played at the Emirates Stadium, Arsenal Stadium. I could honestly see Madrid getting upset, especially because Arsenal are going to hold on to the ball. Madrid are going to counter. I can see a Madrid away victory. And then I see like Arsenal, their fan base going for like a remontada stuff at the Bernabeu. Or it's a draw. I don't see Arsenal winning. Yeah, let's go a bit risky. I'm going with a 2-1 victory to Real Madrid in this game. 2-1 victory to Real Madrid. Next up, we have Borussia Dortmund versus FC Barcelona. Once again, the pitches are wrong here. Barca is the home side in the first leg. Dortmund is the away side. Dortmund, they were the only incorrect prediction I made in the round 16 predictions. I had Lille knocking Dortmund out. But obviously, they couldn't do that. Dortmund with a very impressive performance and result away at Lille. A tough ground. We've seen, Madrid go there and lose. Juventus go there and draw. PSG go there. I mean, we won PSG, but it was still a tough game. So Dortmund being this quarterfinal stage, it is a big thing for them. Especially when you consider, as I said a little bit before with Arsenal, I think Dortmund also are very desperate in this competition. They're obviously sitting 10th in the Bundesliga or something, trying their best to reach a European spot before the season ends. But they put all the fish in the bowl, as they say, in the UEFA Champions League. This is the tournament they care about. This is the tournament they know they can do something in. And they're obviously coming up against FC Barcelona. And FC Barcelona, you can talk about them in two ways. You can talk about how great they have been, FC Barcelona, this season. But you cannot forget, this is a Barcelona team that hasn't reached a Champions League semi-final since 2019. This is an FC Barcelona squad, a team, a club that has been playing twice in Europa League. This is a club that absolutely bottled it last year in the UEFA Champions League. Yes, against Paris Saint Germain, a more experienced side in the UEFA Champions League. But I don't know. I think Barca will reach the final because of how good they've been this season. But you can never doubt out FC Barcelona in European competitions. They can always, lose out in a weird way or something. But strictly talking about this season, yeah, they've been, consistently one of the best, if not the best team in the world, performing at a really high rate, still in all competitions, including winning the Super Cup in La Liga as well. So they're very ready for this game. Wow. I mean, Dortmund will play the most terroristic football in this tie, hoping for the smallest of victories or taking some kind of advantageous result like a draw or maybe even a very small deficit and take it to the Wallenstam Arena. Obviously, Barca will feel even mentally strong for that second leg because they play there in the group stage and they beat Dortmund. But I'm going to give this home leg, I'm going to give FC Barcelona a 2-0 victory, with Dortmund having to climb a mountain in the second leg. And lastly but not least, Paris Saint Germain versus Aston Villa. Huge game. Okay. It's a big game. It's a big game. Paris Saint Germain obviously coming up against Aston Villa. First game being played at the Parc des Princes. And Paris Saint Germain, its fans, including myself, will feel very confident ahead of this tie. Obviously, I was extremely confident for the Liverpool tie. And after the Liverpool tie, I'm even more confident. I remember people asking me after the first leg about my confidence for the second leg. I said I'm more confident about the second leg after watching the first leg. And after watching the first and second leg, I'm extremely confident this is Paris Saint Germain's year. We obviously reached the Champions League semi-final last year. My expectations heading into the season was do at least what we did last season. We've already won the league. We've won the Trophée du Champion. We're into the Coupe de France final. And just advancing against Aston Villa, we've met my requirements for the Champions League this season. But obviously, now seeing how good we are, we can definitely win the Champions League this season. And we should just look at Aston Villa as part of the way to the Champions League final rather than that big of a major obstacle. I've seen a lot of Aston Villa fans call me arrogant or think that's an arrogant opinion, but we gotta be completely serious. This is Paris Saint-Germain's, I don't know. They played in the Champions League knockout stages, I think, for the past 15 years. This is Aston Villa's first in at least 20, 25 years. Paris Saint-Germain have a goal set since the beginning of the season. Aston Villa, it was about do as well as possible, go as far as possible. Obviously, Aston Villa will have the underdog gimmick this game, and the gimmicks, and you know, people, because they hate PSG, they want to rate always the team that's coming up against them. The same people that thought Liverpool would beat PSG are the same people that are saying Aston Villa might have a shot. Aston Villa might do it. You know, the underdog come on. But I think Aston Villa, compared to Liverpool at least, I think will be more defensive resilient because Aston Villa are usually a team in the bigger games that sits, you know, deep. That sits really deep and goes on the counter. So it would be nothing new for them. Whilst Liverpool, sure, they do sit back, but people overwent with it. They thought like, oh, that's how Liverpool play. No, we forced them to play that way. And I think Aston Villa will be more comfortable playing that way because they have played more times that way. When they're completely suffocated, I think they will also play maybe some more defensive formation / defensive players on the field, which will make it tougher for Paris Saint-Germain to break them down. Obviously, there may come in arrogance from the PSG players as well. Obviously, when we face Liverpool, I don't think any PSG player was arrogant because they know Liverpool. They know what Liverpool has done recently and in history. Against Aston Villa, potentially the PSG players, exactly like last season versus Dortmund, may look down upon Aston Villa, which we should absolutely not do. We need to put in at least a 9 out of 10 performance against Villa across the legs to go through. But it should be a great match. Very interesting tie, obviously coming up against Rashford and Asensio and Unai Emery, but people are making it too big than it is. This would be Ousmane Dembele's night. This would be Vitor Ferreira's night, Achraf Hakimi, Khvicha Kvaratskhelia night, Bradley Barcola, Desiree Doué's night, Fabian Ruiz, Warren Zaire-Emery's night, Nuno Mendes, William Pacho's night, Marquinhos Beraldo, and Gianluigi Donnarumma's night. This will be a spectacular night. I can't wait for it because this time we're going to absolutely ruin the opponent but actually get the goals in, unlike the first leg versus Liverpool. So I'm predicting I'm going to go with a 3-1 prediction to Paris Saint-Germain in this game. 2-goal difference, 2-goal advantage taking into the second leg. Yeah. Let me know in the comments down below what's your prediction for the 4 quarterfinal games. That's been it from your boy PSG, and as usual, allez Paris.